Institute of Technology and Science. As moderator for this session, we have Mrs. Archana Baliga, who is a life skill coach and an entrepreneur. Please welcome all of them with a big round of applause.
ವೀರ್ ಭೋಗ್ಯ ವಸುಂಧರ, ಇದುವರೆಗೆ ಕೇಳದ ಸೈನಿಕರ ಕುಟುಂಬದ ಕಥೆಗಳು, ಶಕುಂತಲಾ ಭಂಡಾರ್ಕರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮೇಘನಾ ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಅವರಿಂದ ಈ ಸೆಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅರ್ಚನಾ ಬಾಳಿಗ ಅವರು. ಓವರ್ ಟು ಅರ್ಚನಾ ಬಾಳಿಗ.
Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Veer Bhogya Vasundhara, the brave shall inherit the earth. It is the motto of Rajputana Rifles, raised in its current form since 1921, and is the senior-most rifle regiment of the Indian Army. Today, ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us Meghana Girish, mother of Major Akshay Girish, and Major Akshay Girish went out of line of duty, sacrificed his life. If it wasn't for his sacrifice, there would have been a hostage-like situation, and he saved a lot of families, ladies, children, and men. Today, we will get to know a lot more about Major Akshay Girish through Meghana Girish. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
We also have with us Shakuntala Bhandarkar, wife of Lieutenant Colonel Ajit V. Bhandarkar, Shaurya Chakra. He was killed in action in Jammu and Kashmir fighting the terrorists. And today we are fortunate to have you with us, and we will get to know about Lieutenant Colonel Ajit Bhandarkar through you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
For me, it's an honor and privilege because I'm sharing the stage with these two great ladies, brave ladies, Veeranaris. Thank you so much, ma'am, and welcome to Mangalore and Mangalore Literature Festival.
Thank you.
I'm also privileged to welcome Lieutenant General Khandare. Thank you for your presence, sir. It matters a lot to us. Shakuntala ma'am, when I started reading this book, I couldn't stop, I couldn't keep the book down. My daughter said there were a lot of expressions on my face. I was smiling at certain places, but then there were tears also. And when I read this book, I was fortunate enough to get to know a gentleman, a simple, humble, amicable gentleman, Lieutenant Colonel Ajit V. Bhandarkar. And as I was coming to the end of the book, mind you, I didn't want to read it at all, because I knew that if I continue reading, you will talk about his martyrdom. And once I would read about it, I knew that would become my reality as well, and I would never get a chance to meet this gentleman ever again. Ma'am, I know not many people are fortunate to have read this book, the saga of Braveheart. Today, ma'am, I want you to share some of your memories and some of the thoughts from this book, please.
Sure. So, before I take on the question, I want to thank the Mangalore Lit Fest for having invited me here, and I thank you all for being here, and you are all and be a part of my own journey here. It's a Bangalore Lit Fest, so it's going to revolve around the book Saga of a Brave Heart. So before I start talking about my dear husband, let me tell you the reason why I wrote this book. It was COVID and my husband it was his 60th birth anniversary. And I felt I was so engrossed with bringing up my two kids. I said I must do something as a tribute to my dear husband. And every other time when you have Republic Day or an Independence Day coming, people would come to me, ma'am, a bite on your husband, or what do you say, and things like that. I thought, okay, let me just document it. And I started mentally preparing for my writing of the book. And incidentally, I asked my son Nirbhay and Akshay, who are now in the armed forces, do you remember anything about your dad? Yes? Do you remember anything about your dad? And they said, Mama, I'm so sorry, I don't remember anything about my dad. Now just imagine the sons of the brave heart, the little kids, they were 7 years old and 5 years old, so I don't blame them. But then I took on the onus as a family member of a brave heart. If I am not going to speak about my own husband and his contribution to the country, then who's going to do that? So you see how the onus came on me, Archana. So I'm a language teacher, so I said it's not going to be difficult for me. I chronologically decided to write about him, and coming on to the chronological part, he was a student from Sainik School, Bijapur, did his schooling there, and you all know we have many great people who have come out. We have few of them sitting here. We have Commodore Srikanth here, who is also an alumnus of Sainik School, Bijapur, and there are so many more who have passed out from that school. And so that's how I started writing. And then my duty or my acquaintance and my knowing of Ajit was only post my marriage. Now how do I document it? So I called up, it was during the pandemic, I couldn't go and meet them, otherwise I would have loved to go and meet each and every of them. Through the phone, I started calling out people, checking on them, requesting them for some anecdotes, asking them how he was and how he fared. He was a school captain, and I then slowly got to know, unravel all his things which a husband generally doesn't share. He doesn't share what he did, how he saved somebody's life, or how he treated his subordinates. All those things he never spoke about his personal life. So it was all hidden from my purview. So that's how when I spoke to people, I would have spoken to hundreds of them, and that's how I could collate this book, Saga of a Brave Heart. And I'm extremely grateful to the army. It's a family, and you continue to be a part of the family. I had to get the permission from ADGPI to write about the operations, because it's something very confidential. And since 20 years had passed by, some of the pictures I could share it in the book. And I also am grateful to my family, for having supported me in this cause. And when I say army is a family, dear friends, I just want to tell you, and there are so many veterans and serving personnel here who are going to watch it. You continue to be a part of this big family, and there is no, sort of a he's no more there, so it's not like that. Till date, He is a part of 18 Madras, Mysore. Madras Regiment is one of the oldest infantry regiments, and that's how I am still in touch with the unit, and the army still takes care of me, and I'm very grateful for all their support. And if at all I am what I am today, it's because of all their support, and that's how the journey has been. And getting to know Ajit, then he joined the NDA, and then of course the course mates. So the course mates here now, what happened is they all turned 60, they all retired. So they said they wanted to give something back to the society, and I had just retired as a principal of a school. So we thought we will form an organization called Metamorphs Foundation. It is through that foundation that we are doing all this awareness about the armed forces, and we have also instituted an award, the Lieutenant Colonel Ajit Bhandarkar Memorial Award in schools pan-India, where we give this award. We have given it even in Sainik School, Bijapur, and my dad, incidentally, my dad, and we are all from Mangalore, and my dad studied in Canara School. It's one of the oldest schools in this part of Karnataka. And I said as my contribution, we would start in the Canara group of institutions. So we have started this Lieutenant Colonel Ajit Bhandarkar Award in the Canara schools in Mangaluru. And we've done it in Delhi and in Chennai, across the country, in Pune, you name it, Jaipur, we've done it across pan-India, to the child who has all these qualities of a brave heart. They are not like some superheroes. They are normal persons like you, me. We have Major Akshay Girish. They're just normal people who have the country as their priority. NDA, you all know what is the motto of NDA, service before self. And they follow it to the last letter. So that is how we thought Metamorphs, I'm a part of Metamorphs Foundation. I'm the director of Metamorphs Foundation, and this is what we all do. We were just watching the other session there, so they were saying there's lack of awareness about the armed forces. So we bring in awareness. Sir, I think you had asked about, how do our kids get to know. So this is the book, The Saga of a Brave Heart, which this 2023 ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಧೈರ್ಯಶಾಲಿ ಯೋಧರ ಸಾಹಸ ಗಾಥೆ ಅಂತ. And my mother tongue is Konkani, so Konkani आम्ही गरकड कोंकणी उलोचे. So आमगेले कर्मभूमी Mangalore ಅಂತ येवनो या Mangalore लिटफेस्ट येवनो या बुका विषय हांव उलोका जलारी म्हाका मस्त खुशी जाली. I'm just translating it. I've spoken Konkani just to make myself happy. I'm sorry about it if it's new to you. I'm just saying how proud I am to talk about my dear husband in this soil of Mangalore, where we all have our roots, and so you can, thank you. So that is how his journey has been, and you read the book to know more about him and his characteristics. I would leave it to you all to read and understand and appreciate his life.
Ma'am, तुमकां आमचे कडल्यान उरलोन आयकून आमकां खुशी जाले.
Thank you.
Ma'am has 60K followers from Twitter now to X, and our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji follows you on X. Yes. And your blog, Finding New Meaning. When I started reading that blog, I know you started just a few days post Major Akshay Girish's passing.
Yes.
And we could feel the pain from day one, ma'am. You started writing about his journey when he was a small boy, when he was an infant, how he, fought from day one, right?
Yes.
And then, him being a cheeky teenager, I remember reading where you mentioned, he met Urmila Matondkar in the Goa airport, and he comes back to you and says, she's much more prettier in real rather than in the movies.
Yes.
And a determined young man.
Yes.
And how he, laid down his life for the country. Ma'am, take us through the journey, please.
So Akshay was, Akshay went into the army third generation. So starting from his grandfather who was in the army, my husband was a fighter pilot, and my brother a helicopter pilot. All of them went in through NDA, and we thought it was enough. A lot of people have served the country. Now, my husband had left the service early. He took a voluntary retirement and he went into civil aviation. The children were very small. They were only in class 5. So now we moved from a Air Force campus into a civil sector. I put both my children into a civil school, like everybody said, now give them exposure. The world is changing. There's so much happening outside. There's so much future outside, etc., etc. But for some reason, Akshay from class 6 started saying, I want to go to the military school. I want to go to the military school. He insisted on writing the entrance exam. Now, Akshay is a twin. My daughter is also there. So he said, no, I want to go to the boarding school. I said, why do you want to go? This is such a good school. Kumran is such a good school. Everything is fine. No, but I want to go. You're not letting me write. You're not letting me write. So I said, okay, write. I thought he may not even get through. But he got through, and he just loved that school. And whenever, it was a border vacancy. So though we lived in Bangalore, he had to be a boarder. So he wasn't allowed home even once in 3 months, but I, as a typical mother, I would want to see him. So I would try to say, I just need to give him this book, or I just need to give him this tiffin or something, and try to go see him there. And I would see him, he's gardening, he's painting. I would say, ye kya hai ye? And he loved it. I thought it was pretty strange, children are working so hard, itna ragda kha ke, he's still liking it. Sure enough, he said, I want to go to NDA, I will not change. I gave them the option after 10th, why don't you move into PUC, if you're going to study in Karnataka. There are a lot of options. Every parent, thinks of whichever direction your children want to follow, you support them. He said, no, I'm not going to leave my school, I'm going to appear for NDA. Sure enough, first shot, he gets through NDA. He goes off to NDA. There he says, my father's squadron was this, I have parental claim, my uncle's squadron was this, I have some other claim, and so I am in this squadron, and he's totally very happy. And my husband being in civil aviation, we start doing all these holidays abroad. So we take permission. You need 3 months advance. You have to tell NDA that he has to go abroad on his term break. Also, you need, the army, the forge is very hierarchical. For everything, you need permission. So, okay, you get permission, we take him abroad, Europe, America, everywhere he goes, and he says, chutti bahut achhi thi, but I will live in my country, my country is the best country, I want to wear the uniform, I want to serve with pride and honor, and nothing deterred him from the path. What I'm trying to say is it was not like we were very happy, yeah, you go. No, he was very determined to make it, and he did. And he was an infantry opti all along, because my father was from the Garhwal Rifles, and he was like Nanaji say, he had a lot of those stories. And then suddenly when he went to IMA, he had a para officer who was his
instructor,
battalion, I don't know, whatever, company commander or something. And then somebody else, and who said, no, you're very good, you're techie, you are, the combat engineers has great scope, army is becoming more technical, and, you put your first option as engineers. He got in and he went into combat. He loved that. So wherever he would go, he would love. And he served little short of 9 years before he sacrificed his life for the country. But those 9 years, he just loved it. He loved everything, and he said, oh, my friends are here, there, software, doctor, whatever. He said, but I am the one who's happiest, and I have chosen very well. He married early at 25. He had a kid. I became a grandmother very young. And so I think everything about his life I wrote because I had to cope with the pain of loss. And I'm not somebody who's very public about it, and I also had a family which I had to anchor. So I just wrote. I couldn't sleep, so in the night I would just sit and write my blog, and I would just post it. So, you know, I don't know if you've read my blog. I think it's all over. In a few weeks, I have managed to put out the entire story. And I never thought it would become so popular, but it's read in many countries. And I still have people saying, we're waiting for your next post, and why haven't you written? So I think that's really something. It's a powerful medium.
And it has been quite a while, ma'am, now.
It's been quite. Yes, and I continuously get these mails saying, ma'am, I'm waiting for your next post. And how do I tell them? I am so busy doing trust work, and I'm so busy actually doing groundwork, work on the ground, that I really don't have time to, and I don't have anything new to state on that story. Though I tell a lot of soldier stories. It's not just my sons. I tell a lot of stories on Twitter. I think one of the reasons why my following is so big is I tell a lot of stories, and I also tell stories about Veer Naris. I think my last post I had put out on Shakuntala ji and her mother-in-law and what it means to be. So I think that what I like is that in the last 10 years, the public wants to know more about our forces. The respect for soldiers, which has always been there, social media has brought that closer in terms of life and curiosity. And I think Akshay was, for me, he was a blessed child. Today he's my guru in the stars. I believe that. He's put me on a path I wouldn't have been in otherwise. And I'm walking that path.
Ma'am, I wanted to know what is it that changed for you on that particular day? And what is it that has stayed with you from that particular day? Because I know, because in your blog you've mentioned you don't like to mention that particular date at all. So I don't want to mention the date. Because, you know, every month around that date, you're just not comfortable. So what is it that changed for you forever? As a matter of fact, for you also, ma'am, what is it that changed for you forever? And what is it that stayed with you forever from that particular day?
If I can just go backwards first, you know, my father was commanding a battalion in the 71 war, and I was 10, 11, the same age my granddaughter is now. I was that age. In Sialkot sector, he was fighting. My mother and me happened to be stuck in a semi-field area in Jammu. And every night there would be a little radio or a transistor in which all our mothers would sit around. Aaj Chamb mein ye hua, you know, ladai happening here, war is happening there, this is happening, that is happening. They would all huddle around and hear that. And for a child like me, at that point of time, I used to just think, I hope my dad is safe. I hope my dad will come back. On that day that we lost Akshay, I don't know, something, we didn't know, it was on TV. We were watching on TV, Nagrota cantonment has been attacked. And this is happening, that is happening. We saw the name of another officer who was first martyred from the artillery regiment. And we didn't even know Akshay was part of the QRT until there was one message on the family WhatsApp group. And then we knew. And so that day, I think something told me that something is not right. I don't know what you call it intuition or otherwise. But what happened that day was, yes, I think the worst fear came true. And that pain, of course, never goes away, but it's also the pride and the gratitude that, yes, many lives were saved. There were infants and ladies in danger. This attack was meant to really embarrass the Indian Army by attacking a corps headquarters, like, you know, an area, and this came soon after the Uri surgical strike, post-Uri. So they also wanted to show कि हम भी ये कर सकते हैं. But the pride that it was contained, that they were not allowed to cause the kind of damage that they could have caused. There were another 300 families around, including my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter, were 500 meters away from the location.
They were in the campus.
They were very much in that campus. The fact that they could not convert it into a hostage situation. See, in the past also, Kaluchek and all, army has lost a lot of families. Army families make great sacrifices, apart from the soldiers who make sacrifices fighting for the country. They are at risk. The fact that nobody was harmed other than the 3 who were martyred fighting, that pride will also always stay with me. That gratitude is also there, that had this to happen any other way, the loss would have been huge. But if Akshay, knowing my son Akshay, if he had to go, it would have to be this way, with his boots on, fighting to the end. That pride will always remain.
Ma'am?
Yeah. So, if I look back, 24 years back, I was very naive, and yes, my husband did empower me to study on and to continue my role as a teacher. There's no doubt about it that he has empowered me. So the minute I got to know that I have lost him, somehow the mother's instinct in me became very powerful. And my mother's instinct to take care of my two little ones, that was the strongest instinct, Until date, I can't, control my emotions. So, we said that because Ajit's parents were in Bengaluru, so we said we will fly his mortal remains to Bangalore, and we had his military, funeral and with all state honors. And you won't believe, my kids were just running around the house when all this was happening. And yes, my family was there with me. And the first thing which came to my mind was the education of my kids. And since they were my priority, and I had this big role of taking care of them, that really wiped off all the grief, all the pain, and they put me into like literally, अभी काम करो, कल उसको खाना देना है, परसों उसको स्कूल जाना है. So I got so involved in their normal chores, and in a way it was good for me. Like, it helped me to heal. I upgraded myself. You all know how it is to parent the teens. They also had their own struggle of dealing with their teens, and I would always feel insecure because their father was not there. Maybe that is why they are behaving like this. So I donned the hat of a father and of that of a mother, and continued my career as a teacher, which gave me all the time to focus on my kids. Though I had got many offers from banks and other organizations, I thought this teaching role would keep me balanced. I would spend enough time with them and also continue with my career. And so that if I have to tell you what is it which is still consistent is, the role of a mother or a parent, and automatically I think in our culture we always look forward to the Almighty for the strength. So that's how we, in our 18 Madras Mysore regiment, we are the state from the history of 18 Madras comes as they were the state forces of Mysore Maharajas, which got merged with the Indian Army. That's how our history is. 18 Madras Mysore history goes through that way. So, and Chamundeshwari Mata is our deity. So that's our unit deity as well. So I always believe that it's the Mata Rani who has given me all the courage, and it is her blessing and it's her Shakti which is I am blessed with to do all this work and to continue with my work. That's it. Jai Mata Di.
Jai Mata.
Jai Mata Di.
Ma'am, I know you speak about Major Akshay Girish being the third generation defense person, and I know that when you lost him, it's not just your personal loss, but you had to take care of a daughter-in-law and a 3-year-old granddaughter as well. How did you cope, and how did you, help them also cope with this loss?
Yeah, in fact, for a South Indian family, starting from my father, we have 17 members who have served in the armed forces. And I say this with a lot of pride. Army, Navy and Air Force. Currently, one serving is commanding a battalion somewhere in the northeast. So I think I feel more Fauji than anybody else does. I think I'm a Fauji daughter, a Fauji sister, a Fauji wife, and a Fauji mother. And my daughter-in-law Sangeeta, she was obviously, you know, like this. Whole day that this attack happened, we were on direct WhatsApp. I was asking her what's happening, has Akshay called, and she kept saying no, there's no news yet, and the mopping up is happening, this is happening. And at 6 o'clock the CEO and the ladies came and told her, and then the CEO called me and said he wants to speak to my husband was on a flight. And so I said, tell me, I can take it, tell me. And so when I spoke to Sangeeta, I could hear her wailing in the background, and that's, you know, that really hurt me, that stayed with me. Okay, now I knew I have to put my grief below hers, because she has a life ahead of her, and she stayed with us for 1.5 years with my granddaughter, and we bonded even more. After losing my son, my daughter-in-law and me, we would have long conversations and we bonded. So that's how it happened. And of course, my granddaughter, who's a delightful child, and I'm sorry about this, but she would cry a lot. You know, when she would cry, Papa, Papa, she would really look for him. She didn't know what was happening, but she would tell all these stories. Where is he? So we would say he's in the stars, and she would say, I also want to go there. So, you know, it's very hard to deal with a very young child who's neither here nor there. Sometimes she would just throw a tantrum, she would get very upset. Then Sangeeta would also naturally get upset. So yeah, we went through this period, but I'm happy to say that as a family, we've bonded very strongly. She continues to remain a daughter to us, and we talk about Akshay very normally now, you know, like as if he's still there. We laugh at all the stuff that he used to do. We feel happy about the responsibilities that he took. So it's not a taboo at all. Even Naina, like we all part of this whole celebration of Akshay's life, so to say.
I need to mention this because it takes a heart of gold, and you know, to be as selfless. Ma'am remarried her daughter-in-law. Now she's more a daughter to her than a daughter-in-law. Ma'am, it takes a lot to do that, because you're even letting go of, you know, a part of you that was there with you. So what was your thought behind it, ma'am?
See, I never really considered social norms above love and affection, or, you know, finally see what matters to you. Your country matters, loyalty to your country matters, your country doing well is important to you, your family matters, your family's happiness matters. If members of your family are happy, you are happy. And Sangeeta became a daughter to us the day Akshay said, I like her and I want to marry her. You know, he got married, he was engaged at 24, married at 25. I don't think we've ever, neither me, it's not just me, my husband, my daughter, I don't think we've ever treated Sangeeta any different from Neha. And she knows that, she says that. So, I could see that she was struggling, and there was somebody she knew from before in her school. The family was well known to her family, to her parents, and I think I'm happy that she could express to me that you know, that this person she was meeting. In fact, there are times that I have taken care of Naina when she's been trying to make up her mind, and when she asked me, she said, will you be able to accept? I said, look, nobody can replace my son in my life, but it doesn't mean that somebody else cannot be part of our family. There's no such thing. And I'm very proud to say that Sangeeta also, she's been a wonderful girl, and she also went for the wedding from our home. We had the mehendi for her in our house. I helped her wear her sari. She wore the same jewelry that I had given her, and she's married. It's over. This was in 2019, so it's 4.5 years now. And Anirudh has also become part of our extended family, and we all work together. Even the trust work, we're very much involved. We celebrate festivals together, and they live in Bangalore. We get to see our granddaughter just as much. So I never gave it a thought. What is there to think about it? If your family is happy, your children are happy, it means a great deal.
True. That's so very true. Ma'am, in the book you mentioned that it was Lieutenant Colonel Ajit Bhandarkar who went out, got you the application, asked you to enroll, and for the B.Ed courses.
Yes.
And how important was it for him, for you to be independent?
So I guess everyone in the army, especially in the infantry, they are all aware of all the risks in their life, and more so if they have come from a Sainik school background, they're totally groomed and toughened and trained to be there. So the candid conversations we used to have was like, he would tell me that he would prepare me. So I married my Ajit when he was a captain, and in those days to become a lieutenant colonel also there was a board. So he would prepare me, saying that it's not necessary that I become a lieutenant colonel. I have to clear the board. If I don't become, I remain a major. So that way he always prepared me for the worst. So I was just a mere graduate when I got married to him, and I was teaching as, like I was fond of teaching, so I continued to teach, and that's when I realized that I have to do my B.Ed, and I'm very grateful to my dear husband for encouraging me. And when my dad asked him this question, why do you want to encourage her to do her B.Ed and all, then he said, that if she doesn't go out and work as a teacher, her other option which lays in front of her will be, she'll be attending all kitty parties, and then she will start off with her normal gossip with all the ladies. So he said, Mom, you want her to do all that? Go to kitty parties and then spend her time gossiping about other ladies, or you want her to become a person who is very constructive in her effort and does something very productive in society? So that's when my dad was also convinced that it's a good move, it's a good suggestion, and let her continue with her B.Ed, and that's how I got my B.Ed after I married. And he used to always empower me. Even I never knew how to drive a car, so he gave his. There are men in this room. I don't know how many men would give their new vehicle to their wives, and that too when they know that they don't know driving.
I'd like to add to
So he gave me his brand new. We had bought a brand new Omni at that time, thinking that it's a little bigger vehicle, as good as a Jeep, and we could drive intercity and things like that. And he gave me the vehicle, and he would escort me till my school. I would get down, and then he would drive it back home. So all these are fond memories of my husband, who truly empowered me, to what I am today.
Ma'am.
I'd like to just add to what Shakuntala said. So I also got married after my degree in pharmacy, and then I had my twins very early, and I suddenly, there was an opportunity to apply for my master's in BITS Pilani, because I had topped my state in B.Pharm. And I also went back to do my master's in pharmacy in BITS. When I was married and with my 2 little kids, my mother looked after. My husband was fine with it. So I just like to say, I think the husbands are pretty encouraging about what their wives do. And when my husband went to staff college, initially he was amongst the junior most in his course. So there's something, this is in Wellington. You get the topmost block if you're the junior most. So we were like block number 41, where an old Premier Padmini third hand that we could afford at that time, you had to go into first gear to go up there. And the first thing my husband said is, you are not going to drive here. He thought I'll go down the hill with the babies and the car. But then that course keeps you so busy that he has no time for my children's admission into upper KG, and he has no time for anything. So then he said, I can't make it. Can you drive the car? I said, of course I can drive the car. And then I was picking up everybody's parents from Blackbridge, somebody's guest is coming. The whole year I was driving that car all over the place.
Official chauffeur.
Official chauffeur. And my neighbors who didn't know how to drive also, I would be roped in. So I think the good thing about the forces is that women are taught to become independent, either by design or by default. But yes, I think it's really good, and even those of us who got married very young and had our children very young, we continued our studies and our learning and, you know, our ability to cope.
Ma'am, both of you have faced a lot of challenges with bureaucracy. Yes, ma'am, during our conversation, you mentioned that, you know, a wounded soldier who is disabled, a Parakram Padak, they receive,
yes,
like a 10%, like all of them have received Parakram Padak. And it's an acknowledgement for the, for the sacrifice they have done.
Yes.
But a martyr who's in a warlike or in war has never been honored with Sarvoch Balidan Padak, not all of them. And you said you wanted to talk about it and raise it as an issue?
See, I'd like to go back a little on how this whole thing came up. One of the things that we've been working through Major Akshay Girish Memorial Trust, one of the things that I did was, this was research for advocacy, getting in touch with all soldier families, which is Veer Naris, next of kin parents, etc., looking at the gaps in their access to entitlements and benefits, which are on paper, and what are they actually able to access, particularly below officer rank. You know, at least officers' wives have much better ability to access, whereas in rural India, the soldiers' wives, they don't even know what the policy is and how to get to it, whether it's fee reimbursement, whether it is some CSD card, whatever it might be. When I was doing this survey, there was one question which said, any other information you want to share with the armed forces or with the government? It was a generalized question. Many of them said, my husband also gave his life for the country in the Kargil war, and others have got either a gallantry award or a wounded soldier in my village has got a medal for it, but my husband hasn't been given any medal. Later, a rule came in the country which says that the family member, the next of kin, can wear the medals of a soldier who's made the supreme sacrifice on the right side. For example, Shakuntala can wear her husband's medals on her. Now, the wound medal, which is the equivalent, the Parakram Padak is the equivalent of what is called a wound medal. That means if a soldier has got a wound fighting, whether it's a bullet or a shrapnel or a mine blast, whatever it might be, that medal is given to him, the soldier wears it himself. And if a soldier who's given his life is got a gallantry award, then they get a gallantry award. But what about many who have not got a gallantry award? Where is the equivalent of the Purple Heart in USA or the Medal of Sacrifice in Canada? The United Nations gives a medal for supreme sacrifice. It's called the Dag Hammarskjöld Medal or something like that, which Indian peacekeepers also get when they give their life in UN peacekeeping. Why has our country, in 75 years of independence, despite all the time there is conflict happening, wars, and counter-terrorist operations, all of these are happening, why hasn't our country instituted a Sarvoch Balidan Padak, which is by the President of India? It should be in the order of awards and decorations. Parakram Padak is at number 29. Now, all this research I did because those wives, those Veer Naris, brought up this issue. Why hasn't my husband got this? See, why this is so important. This medal, even the child tomorrow the grandchild also tomorrow can say, my grandfather gave his life for the country. And here is this medal, which he has got, Sarvoch Balidan Padak, which I am wearing very proudly. it motivates and inspires entire generations to put their country first. Please understand, this is not just about one soldier, two soldiers, this family, that family. This is something which proudly, if you have a medal because your grandfather fought for your country, wouldn't you be proud of it? Why has our country not done what other countries have done? You've all heard of USA Purple Heart. So this letter has now, because it came in this study is published by USI, which is a defense think tank, General Khandare, everybody knows very well about this. This study was published by USI, and honor came as a byproduct of the gaps, like due honor. And after that, I was asked to do a similar study on war-wounded soldiers. What are their gaps? So this is part of the advocacy work, collaborating. Since I do have a research background, and I myself was with after college teaching, I was with ActionAid, which is a funding organization, NGO, for 10 years. So I had this background of doing it, and so I thought there is a big gap, Shakuntala, as you would also say. Yeah. Not many students have done research projects connected to families of armed forces or soldiers themselves. Whatever is being done also, like even within the forces, like war wounded, when I was doing, I realized all the studies were on medical parameters. Like most commonly, what is the injury because of bullet or shrapnel or mine blast, which is maximum is limb amputation. It's all very medical. Percentage of disability so much. But what after that? How is that soldier and his family after that? What entitlements? Are they aware of the policies? Are they accessing those benefits that they are entitled to? No one's done any research on this. So these are two important studies that I've been involved in. The second one on war wounded is going to be published by USI in another month or two as an entire book, as a monograph. So yes, since General Khandare is here, General Khandare, I would request you, with full faith in our government and the Prime Minister, to fill this gap. This gap, Sarvoch Balidan Padak, or whatever they want to call it, like the Parakram Padak, by the President, and War Wounders Association War Widows Association headed by Mrs. Damayanti Tambe has already presented this letter to the Honorable President, and I've also written on behalf of our trust to the Prime Minister. I just think there's nothing to refuse it. They will do it. It hasn't probably been brought to the notice. It will make a huge difference not only to the families but to generations of Indians. So I feel it is very important to take this forward. I request everybody in the Lit Fest to please do this. I just heard in the other session with General Khandare that the social media is a very powerful medium. Yes. Please say Institute Sarvoch Balidan Padak for every soldier who's given his life fighting for the country.
Yes. I hope with the Mangaluru Literature Festival, yes, it becomes a reality, ma'am, soon. Ma'am, what's your message for the youth today? A personal message and one, for the youth who are, interested to join the armed forces.
I'll start?
Yes,
please. My message to the youth is dream, strive, be prepared for challenges, and always be positive that there is light at the end of the darkest tunnel. Don't give in to negativity. My country is no good, this field is no good, my life is no good. No, everything is good. Don't give in to negativity. Our country is poised at a very good place right now, and you people are the future. So dream and strive, and whichever field, whatever you do, never forget that you need to give back to your country. And our freedom is not free. Today, if we are sitting here, there are soldiers guarding our borders, and have respect for those soldiers. Nothing comes for free, so let the glory of our flag and the pride of our country only go higher and higher. We are a very young country at 76 years. Let it go higher in the years to come. And I think whatever our age, if we sitting over here can be positive about life, we would like to see the youth, just take it that much further. Jai Hind is what I would say very, very strongly.
I just would like to tell the youth of today that follow your passion. You are at the right place at the right time, and you're very lucky to be in this new Bharat. So be it. We are giving our baton. We have done our bit for the country, and the baton is now passed on to you to make it, better and the best. So, and for the people who are inspiring to join the armed forces, I would like to also mention that both my sons, Nirbhay and Akshay, Major Nirbhay, he's Major Nirbhay now, he's joined his dad's regiment, and he is presently serving in NSG, 51 NSG, where our Major Sandeep Krishnan also, made the ultimate sacrifice. And my younger son is a submariner in the Indian Navy, so I am proud of them, and we are all proud. And also, like when they said they wanted to join the services, I knew that it was a very tough selection, and I was not sure whether they would be selected. I just went with the flow, and they went for the interview, and they got selected, and they are there now serving the country. So it's to all the parents, especially when your child says that he wants to join, at least don't stop him. It's very tough, and I'm very proudly, I can say that he's 0.05% of the people who, aspire to join the services. So be it, and I'm sure you'll do well wherever you are, and it's not necessary that you need to join the services to serve the country. You have other ways of doing it by doing your best for the country and making all of us proud. So Jai Hind and Jai Bharat, Jai Karnataka.
I'm sure there are people in the audience who would like to ask questions. Yeah, please come forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, it's called the Army Wives Welfare Association in the Army, and in the Navy it is called Naval Welfare and Wellness Organization. Just see the change, because in Navy we have all lady officers also, not that in the Army we don't have, but the strength I guess is more. So they have termed it as Navy Welfare and Wellness Organization, whereas in the Army it is genderist. It is Army Wives Welfare Association. Yes, it's a wonderful organization which works for the welfare of the ladies. They, they have monthly meets. They also have training facilities for the ladies, and these ladies are trained to do things like handicrafts, whatever is possible within their domain, and we encourage it. So if you go to any cantonment in the Indian Army circle, whether it be in Jalandhar or Ambala or Delhi, even in Bangalore, these cantonments have our shops where they display and they encourage people to buy those, whether it be hand printing or pickles or biscuits. So that's how they encourage the Army wives and the welfare organization. To some extent, they hold our hands, and they, at least for the Veer Naris, they support us and they help us. And otherwise also the unit is always there in the Army, which takes care of the families of the Veer Naris, Veer Anganas, and that's how it is. It's a very well connected and
to just add to what Shakuntala ji is saying, in the Air Force, they've changed it from Air Force Wives Welfare Association to Air Force Families Welfare Association, because now we have a lot of lady officers also coming in, and then, their spouses are obviously men. And secondly, they even go beyond the service families themselves. Last winter, I don't know if those of you who followed social media, I think they had a nationwide, Air Force ladies had a nationwide campaign to knit warm clothing and distribute it in slums and, you know, for children of with disability and all of that. We also were part of all the knitting, you know, like though we are retired officers' wives, we were also roped in to do this. So I think there's nothing which they don't do to extend help in that sense.
And I would like to add on, AWA also had a lit fest. We just had Captain, Sajita Nair and Major Sharma there in the previous discussion. They were all a part of that AWA Lit Fest where we could, I was also there, we could narrate our stories and talk about our book in that. So they have all these activities also, very constructive activities for the women, so that we are also exposed to all these opportunities. Thank you for that question.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah, and Commodore Srikanta wanted to talk about the Brave Heart.
Yes, please.
I mean, I just want to talk about Sir in school because he was my school captain. I just only wanted to bring out a very brief perspective about Ajit Sir in school. We were in 6th standard when he was in 11th. He was our school captain. And of course, I'd seen him a bit earlier too because one of my closest friends was his cousin. And incidentally, our school is, they're called Ajits, the people who are produced from our school. From Sonic School, Bijapur, we called Ajit, so I think in some way. So what, as a school captain, you saw Ajit Bhandarkar sir was probably the qualities you'll see later in life. I mean, the same solidity, the same absolute sense of responsibility, the same sense of duty, the same sense of conscientiousness that you, I mean, for a young person, it's not that he was not having fun or he was not mischievous, I mean, a little bit here and there, but he seemed to carry the burden of the school on his shoulders even at that time. And I, believe you me, I've never met him after that. He would appear in conversations with, you know, friends, common friends, met and all that. And that sense of gravitas, that sense of responsibility, that sense of supreme dedication was, in one sense, therefore, learning about his being kid in action was, I mean, this is, don't take it wrong, it's not insensitive, was not a surprise because who else but he seemed the perfect person to sort of lead. So I just wanted to bring in that perspective that we had seen in school.
So we can just, we're going to have a documentary on him post the lunch. So request all those who are keen to know about his life can watch this documentary to get the in-depth knowledge on or experience his life through the documentary.
When Mangalore Lit Fest organizers called me up and said, we'd like to invite you, the first thing I said is I haven't written any book. So would that be fine? I've only written a popular blog and I write soldier stories on Twitter. And I have edited a number of books for some best-selling authors. One of them is Major General Ian Cardozo. This book is on 1971 war. There are many stories in it, and I'm very proud to say that one story is also of my father's capture of Nawapinda post in the 71 war, captured it back from Pakistan. And one of the prisoners of that war was our own great Milkha Singh's biggest rival, Subedar Abdul Khalik from Pakistan, who was captured as POW by my father's battalion, and General Khandare is from my dad's regiment. So it's a happy coincidence that's actually happening today. And one more thing I want to say is that, I have met a lot of families and parents who've lost their soldier son, and many of them they are broken, like for very long, and many of them have said, we've lost faith in God, we don't pray anymore, we don't do puja anymore, and did that happen with you? So I said, it never happened with me. I don't know why, but my faith has always remained very strong, and my belief in God is also very strong. And when General Cardozo gave me this book, later when I got it back to me, I read a note here which says, Dear Ram, with regards and best wishes. It's autographed by the author, sometime a couple of years back. Now, Dear Ram, and tomorrow we have Ram Pratishtha happening. So I was so thrilled to see this note. I said, today, if there's anybody who's got their name, Ram, in their name, I would like to gift this book off to them.
Yeah.
So if anybody in the audience or outside has Ram in their name, I'd like to hand this book over to them or to the organizers. It's a really good book on stories from Army, Navy and Air Force.
Ma'am, do we have time for one last question? I'm sorry, you'll have to...
It's okay if he wants it.
We are running short of time, ma'am.
Okay.
On behalf of Bharat Foundation, I would like to thank Shakuntala ma'am and Meghana ma'am for taking time and coming to Mangalore for the Mangalore Literature Festival. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, audience.
ತಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯ ವೀರ ಯೋಧರ ಯಶೋಗಾಥೆಯನ್ನು ನೆನಪಿಸುತ್ತಾ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ದೇಶಪ್ರೇಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ದೀಪನಗೊಳಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಶಕುಂತಲಾ ಭಂಡಾರ್ಕರ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಮೇಘನಾ ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಅರ್ಚನಾ ಬಾಳಿಗ ಇವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಇವರಿಗೆ ಹಿರಿಯ ಚಿಂತಕರು ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಕಜಂಪಾಡಿ ಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯ ಭಟ್ ಇವರು ನೆನಪಿನ ಕಾಣಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಿ ಗೌರವಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ.
ನೆನಪಿನ ಕಾಣಿಕೆ ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಿದ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಫೋಟೋಗೆ ಜೊತೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯಾಸಕ್ತರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ವಿನಂತಿ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಒಂದೆರಡು ನಿಮಿಷ ನಿಲ್ಲಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆ, ಆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದವರಿಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷ ಬಹುಮಾನವನ್ನು ನೀಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಉತ್ತರ ಹೇಳುವವರು ಎದುರು ಬಂದು ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಎದ್ದು ನಿಂತು ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ಇಬ್ಬರು ಹುತಾತ್ಮರ ಸಂಬಂಧಿಕರು ಕುಟುಂಬಸ್ಥರು ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಒಂದು ವಿಭಿನ್ನವಾಗಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಘನಾ ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ಗೌರವವನ್ನ ಹುತಾತ್ಮರ ಪತ್ನಿಯಂದರಿಗೆ ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಸೇನೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಹುತಾತ್ಮರಿಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಮೆಡಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಗೌರವಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಅವರು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು, ಒಂದು ಹಕ್ಕಿದೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅದು ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ನೆನಪಿದೆಯಾ? ಎಸ್, ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಗೌತಮ್ ಅವರು ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಬಹುಮಾನವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಗೌರವಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಶಕುಂತಲಾ ಅಜಿತ್ ಭಂಡಾರ್ಕರ್ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರ ಗಮನಕ್ಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಊಟದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನ ಪಕ್ಕದ ರೂಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಉಳಿದವರಿಗೆ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯಾಸಕ್ತರಿಗೆ ಊಟದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನ ಮೇಲಿನ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ.